Welcome back to drillingcontractor.org. I'm Joanne Liu, and joining me is Sylv Hilde, the Group Task Leader for Cybersecurity at IADC. Sylv, thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you for inviting me.
Why should the oil and gas industry be concerned about our cybersecurity?
The oil and gas industry is concerned and should be concerned about cybersecurity because of two major things. One is the 2010 incident in Iran, which is known as Stuxnet, where a virus or a malware came into an isolated system and made the centrifuges actually spin out of speed. This was an attack on a Siemens PLC, which is controllers that are used a lot in oil and gas, specifically drilling. This was a critical event, and it had significant consequences, both in terms of equipment, in terms of time lost, and in terms of money. We could see similar incidents in the drilling aspect, in the drilling rig, but what's probably more realistic is the viruses and the malware incidents that we're seeing today that are spread via USB, different websites that people are visiting while on the job, and that are making the systems unstable. In a lot of cases, you would have downtime due to this, and would be dollars that would be the loss. There has been one incident of a rig, a jackup rig, that's been transported. During transport, it was discovered that it had a virus, but it took them 11 days to figure out that they actually had a virus and managed to remove it. Because these things are a little difficult to see if you're not looking for it. You might think that equipment is, coming towards its end, its maturity end, that you need to replace it, that there are maintenance issues or software bugs, and then it was basically just a tiny little virus.
The Cybersecurity Task Group was recently formed. What are the goals?
Its goal is to build recommendations, and those recommendations are to be based on existing standards. So we're not supposed to, or even intending to, write new standards. There are way too many cybersecurity standards already. But we're trying to provide, let's say, some guidance, in the big forest of cybersecurity standards, on helping drilling contractors specifically, and also others related in this space, on doing things like assessing the cybersecurity risks for the drilling assets, and also developing security architecture or building security into the systems. So developing recommendations that could be industry best practices, and adopting what the industry is already doing, or in a lot of cases right now, since it's so early, thinking of doing.
The task group hosted a workshop recently. What were some of the key takeaways, and what can we look forward to in the future?
The workshop was very well attended, surprisingly well attended. We had more than 50 participants, and it covered the whole supply chain. We had, not sure whether it was 10 or 11 representatives from drilling contractors, which is good because this work is really for them. Very active participation and active contributions, because we split the workshop into two parts, where we had core lectures, presentations in the morning, where we went through, amongst other things, the NIST cybersecurity framework, which a lot of companies are trying to understand what it means for them, and trying to provide some guidance on what it actually means in practice. And then the second part were more for feedback into the group, because we're currently developing recommendations for risk assessment standards and methods to be used for assessing cybersecurity risks of drilling assets. And we wanted to know what the drilling contractors are doing already, what the operators are doing, and what the vendors are doing. So we gathered a lot of information, and we're going to take that, put together an overview of, let's call it, existing industry practice, and from that try to derive a recommendation that we could give out from IADC on what kind of methods and standards we would recommend that you use when you're assessing cybersecurity risks of your drilling assets.
Well, Sylv, thanks so much for joining us and telling us more about the Cybersecurity Task Group.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us on drillingcontractor.org.